filmed another update on the car, but realized it's just me saying the same things over and over again. So I'm just going to do a really quick update. Still working on the body, obviously. I did make and clamped in those side panels. I used these clamps, which I just got cheap off AliExpress. One of them's already broken, but you can see how those work, where there's a bar that you put that flat piece between the panels and the bar clamps it all together, and then I was able to tack it. And I think I'd mentioned that the last lot of gas welding I did, I had real trouble with the flux. That was this stuff. I don't know what's happened. So I went to buy more of that, and turns out there's only one supplier in the country, and they weren't going to get any more until they sort of said the end of November. I couldn't wait that long. So I found another sort of flux I can get locally, which is this Strata 63. And this seemed to work fairly well, but I've only had a quick try with it. So my plan was to TIG tack those panels in place, because I had to do it on the car. So it was sitting on the car, clamped together, but there's a timber frame inside here, and I didn't want to use the Oxy-Acetylene and get it all too hot and burn the frame. So I thought, if I do TIG, I can just tack it. So it's been a while since I've done TIG with the with aluminium. So I thought I'd better practice, and for some reason I've suddenly got the hang of it. I don't quite know why. It may just be that all of the gas welding I've done has made me better as a welder, but I was able to run really nice beads using the filler rod that I've got, which is that 40-43. I can never remember the numbers on these things. Yeah, 40-43 filler rod, and it just worked brilliantly. I was able to get decent penetration and got really nice welds. So I thought, sod it, sick of playing with the fluxes and the acid everywhere and everything rusting. I still need to clean all of this. So I just went ahead and TIG welded it, and it worked really well. So I ended up welding from the front and then going in the back. I had pretty good penetration, but I was able to blend it in from the back nicely with the TIG. And I ended up going over all of the welds with the TIG. So it's a bit messy in places at the moment, because all I've done so far is I ground it down with the flat disc on the angle grinder, and I don't like grinding too fast, so I leave the welds pretty high and then prefer to use the body file to take them off to avoid gouging into the surface. And I've started doing that here. Still needs a lot of hammering. There's a few small places where the weld sunk in a little bit, but it's okay. I think that can just be either, I'll just either fix those with the TIG, or they can be filled over. So I'm slowly grinding the filing the worst of it off, and we'll get it all nice and smooth again. That's basically what I'm doing. I bought more clamps, because you can never have enough clamps. The timber frame makes it really tricky, because you can't get in behind things very easily. So I have to take it off the frame quite often. But it's not pulled all the way forwards at the moment. But when it is, it sits reasonably nicely. Like I say, I'm just working on the welds here. I haven't got the shape here right yet. That needs more smoothing off. Because to file the welds, you make them a little bit proud, so that you're just hitting the tops of the welds. But that's where I'm at with that. I'm not going to keep filming it. I'm just going to probably try and finish as much as I can, and show what it looks like then. I haven't trimmed the corners yet, because doing it off the car, it's easy to stand it on its end. If I trim those corners, it won't stand on its end anymore. What else did I do? I been working on the Riley. Did lots of gardening stuff this weekend, because it was nice fine weekend. The non-project Fiesta is still ongoing. I've got the new springs, I think I mentioned in another film that I discovered that the bolts that hold the front struts on are stretch bolts, so you need to replace those whenever you change them. So I bought new bolts through Ford, and I managed to get one of the front struts off, and promptly discovered that the dust boot around the shock absorber is completely perished. So I rang the local Ford parts place again, and they seemed a bit confused. I finally explained to them what I was talking about, and they said they couldn't find it in their system here. They'd have to ring Australia and they would ring me back. And I asked them, oh, what's the part number so I can look it up myself? And they wouldn't tell me. She literally said, I'm not allowed to tell you. So I thought, okay, sod that. Went online, figured out what the part number was, the actual Ford part number, figured out what a generic replacement kit is, because you don't need Ford parts for that. The bolts, yeah, I'd prefer to get them from Ford because they spec them, but just a rubber gaiter, any generic one would do. So I found some part numbers for different ones. I rang a local suspension shop to see if they could sell me them. They put me onto a local parts supplier, BNT. So I rang them, spoke to them. He couldn't, none of the part numbers I gave him matched what they had. So he said they basically just look at them, measure the shaft, and find something suitable. So I had to jack the front of the car up, steering full lock. I was able to get in, measure the diameter of the shaft, which is 20 millimeters, and rang them back to give them this measurement. And the chap I'd spoken to wasn't there. They were supposed to ring me back, and they never did. So in the end, I just got sick of it all, thought sod it, and basically ordered some off Amazon. And I think they're coming from Latvia or somewhere silly like that. But it actually worked out cheaper to get them shipped from overseas than buying them locally, because when I spoke to them, they said it would cost about $50 a side. So I think I spent 97 New Zealand dollars to get both sides and postage from the other side of the world. So that's what I've done. So I'm waiting for those to arrive, and then finally I hope I can change the springs on the Fiesta. So it's become a little bit of a saga. It's funny because, of course, the local businesses all complain, that they're not doing so well, but they just make it hard for themselves. They don't have the parts in stock. It's cheaper to get things from overseas. It's often quicker and faster to get things from overseas. So, they do themselves out of business, really. But that's where we're at, I think. Not sure there was anything else to mention. Oh, I've been trying to phone the engineering workshop where I got the aluminium from, and I'm going to order 3 more sheets of aluminium. I'm going to redo that front, because now I've done all of that, I think I can do a much better job off that one. Plus I'll TIG weld it. I do feel like I'm cheating a bit doing the TIG welding. I feel like I'm sort of copping out and not doing it the right way. But I'm guessing if they had TIG back in those days, that's probably what they would have done. So I think it'll be fine, and the welds are just so much better. And it's so much easier, less hassle. But, I'm down to, I've probably got enough there. There's 2/3 of a sheet left. It's probably enough for me to do the scuttle panel again. But then I need enough to do the door skins, and then eventually the guards as well. And of course the boot lid and the bonnet. So I still need quite a bit of aluminium. The other thing I will do is order some steel box section. I think I mentioned I did an analysis on the wheeling machine and figured out a structure. It's sort of a triangulated, can't remember how it goes, I've got it drawn up in Fusion. Basically you stiffen the top and the bottom, top and the back of this, and that should help a lot, I believe. But, yeah, like I say, I don't think I'm going to bother filming too much of the bodywork. It's just ongoing. There's nothing to see. I don't bother filming what I'm doing because that's too much effort, and you wouldn't learn anything anyway. So I'll update when I've actually got some more progress to show. There was one other thing I did. I had my wiring diagram printed out and laminated, by both A3 size and A4, and I'll use this as a guide when I do the actual wiring. I've got some Sharpie markers there, and I can trace off the wires as I'm doing them, mark off which ones I've done, and hopefully that'll make the whole wiring process a little bit less painful.